you.
The Rob Carson Show is presented by Paramount Plus.
You don't need to live with aches and pains. Visit relieffactor.com today.
You are about to hear the most interesting, informative, thought-provoking, and funny show in America. On air and on the World Wide Web. This is the Rob Carson Show.
And welcome to the Rob Carson Show. How is everybody? I am Mary Walter, sitting in for Rob, and I'll be with you tomorrow as well. Very excited about that. Great show lined up. Ken's done a wonderful job. Joining us later this hour is Michael Charbon. He is Newsmax's Canadian correspondent and the host of the Charbon Report. I love saying that. It sounds so French. We'll talk to him about America's growing acceptance of socialism. As a Canadian, he is quite shocked by this news. Next hour, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer joins us. We'll talk about Iran. Again, we'll see what's going on there because I don't know if anything's changed. I keep hearing, I think Iran bombed something again. I think that happened. It gets so confusing because as Blaine Holt said yesterday, it's like the lather, rinse, repeat war. That's pretty much where we are. Just lather, rinse, repeat, and we'll just keep going on and on and on. And then Justine Brooke Murray will be joining us in the last hour. We're going to go over some of the news of the day with her. And I have a lot of things to discuss with you that you can call in on. You can join me at 800-922-6680, 800-922-6680, or you can tag me in a post on X at Mary Walter Radio, which I will open right now on my computer so that I can multitask should you tag me in your post. And good morning to Brian as well. Hi, Brian. Thanks for being here. So I think we worked out all of the bugs in the system with watching the stream on YouTube and Rumble and everywhere else and having the audio. I spent 45 minutes yesterday in an unpaid engineering class to figure out why it wasn't working. So hopefully my free engineering education paid off and we've got it all worked out. So we'll find out. And by the way, if there are any stations that are looking for an engineer, I am now qualified. Oh, my t-shirt's a mess. Look at that. I have on an old Jimmy Buffett concert shirt, and you could tell it's old because it's too big. And it looks like, they get those, my husband calls them baloney tees. Like guys wear these t-shirts and the necks are like all kind of like too big and stretched out a little bit. And I didn't realize that that's what it looks like, but sorry, that's what it looks like. I probably look a little bit like a slob. I look like a guy. As opposed to a woman who would wear something super nice. I just look like a dude who threw on a concert t-shirt and said, good enough. And here I am. All right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is I want to talk about this idea about Congress. And I want to know from you, 800-922-6680, should they be taking this August recess? The Senate and the House is out for a couple of weeks too. Should they be taking this August recess? This thing goes back to forever. And they got air conditioning somewhere along the line. So there's really no reason for them to be taking this off. So I'm going to go into it a little bit with you, but I want to know from you, should they be taking this recess? 800-922-6680. 800-922-6680. Or again, you can leave me a note on X at Mary Walter Radio. All right. So we could do that. Here's my thing. I don't get this time off. Listen to the congressional calendar. You ready for this? So the Senate is only in, the House is not in right now. The House is out the first week in August, September, 1, 2, 3. They're out for 4 weeks. The House is out. They were in the, the House has been out since July 23rd. And the Senate has been in for since from the 24th. The Senate has been in since July 13th until August 8th. All right. Both houses were in until the 23rd. Then it was just the Senate for a week and a day, 2 weeks and a day. Then nobody's in session the second week of August, the third week of August, the last week of August. And then the House comes back August 31st, and they're in for 4 days. And then nobody is in the week of Labor Day. Nobody's in. Then the House comes back for 1, 2, 3 weeks. Excuse me, both houses. Everybody's in for 3 weeks. All right. And their weeks, by the way, are only 4 days. Because they have to have a day to travel, because I don't know. They have to have a day to travel. So their weeks are only 4 days. And then October, they're all out again. They're all out again for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. They're in for 2 days in October, and they're out the rest of the month, and they're out the first week in November. So this is insane to me. Something has to be done about this. This is a part-time job to them. And they treat it like it's a part-time job, but it's really a full-time job. They work less than you or I do. Could you imagine if you got paid what you get paid? Well, they get what, $175,000? Can you imagine getting paid $175,000 and you only come to work, like you don't go to work for weeks on end, because they're home and they're campaigning and they're getting up, they're back with their constituents where they should be. I agree. But you know what? We have the ability for them to work remotely. So why can't they be back with their constituents, listening to them and attending sessions and voting? Why not? And I love that you can vote for someone in absentia. They're not here to do their job, but they nominated me to do their job for them. Can you do that? It's ridiculous. 800-922-6680. And I want to go to cut 2. This is Senator John Kennedy. Now, we've heard from various senators, including Senator Cruz and others have come forward, and all Republicans, by the way, who say that, people that we should get the Senate back in here. Everybody should be back here working. And they're like, hey, we're willing to sit here and work. We're willing to do it. But the Democrats don't want to come back. And Thune is not forcing everybody to come back. He's letting them sit instead of debating the Save America Act. Thune is letting them all go on this long vacation. And I get it. Living in DC is really expensive on $175,000 to move your family, and you have a home back where you are. I totally understand that. Then maybe we need to create dorms for them. Some kind of dormitory living, like little apartments, little studio apartments that they can live in when they're in Washington, D.C., if it's that much of a hardship. Something's got to give, and I don't think it should be the American people and what's important to us. It shouldn't come out of our pockets in that way. We should get full service from people that we elect to represent us, we assume, full time. So here's Senator John Kennedy. I just adore this man and the way he says things. John Kennedy and Tim Burchett are like my two faves right now. Louis Gohmert was my fave, but these two I really like. I also like Chuck Grassley, but these two are the best when it comes to putting things concisely. So here's Senator John Kennedy.
I'm prepared to stay here as long as it would take. I've been to a squillion meetings to talk about this stuff that could have been an email. I'd rather have a back alley colonoscopy than go to another meeting. It is time to vote. We're not going to reach agreement. It's time to vote. That's why God made votes. That's where I am anyway.
I'd rather have a back alley colonoscopy than go to another meeting about the work we need to get done. Just do the work. Yes, do the work. Yeah. And this is what they do. They talk a good game. Because if they're just talking, they don't have to commit to anything. And they don't want to commit to anything because they're all cowards. They don't want to be on the record, which is why John Thune is protecting the rhinos in the Senate to get them past the midterms so they can sit in their seat longer. Victor in Silver Spring. Oh my gosh, a voice I have not heard in such a long time. Victor in Silver Spring. Hello, my friend.
Hello. It's good to hear your voice again.
You too. So how are you?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I'm 79 now.
Wow.
And, about the Senate. I wish there was some way we could just lock them inside there and not let them go home until they do the job they're supposed to do. Tom Maher used to call the Republicans rubber-legged because they wouldn't do anything that meant anything, and they just play word games with everybody and don't accomplish anything. And I'm really ticked off that the Republicans, they have all this money and they won't help Dan Cox here in Maryland.
Yeah, I don't know when they're going to start spending the money. It really bothers me that they don't spend the money in what I think they just write off certain states, Maryland, California, New Jersey, Illinois. They just write off to the Democrats and say, well, we're not going to waste our money there. And they walk away. And I do think there are opportunities to flip some of these seats, except that they don't put the effort into it, whereas Democrats do. And
the Democrats here are going to try and get rid of Andy Harris on the Eastern Shore, redraw the map again.
Yep.
And the Republicans, they're rubber-legged, as I said, and they just sit back and let the Democrats walk all over them. I want somebody with guts.
Yeah, we all do. That's why we like Trump so much. But they refuse to. They're very, very afraid. A lot of the Republicans are just. I hate to say, but a lot of them are betas. When it comes to actually standing up and doing what's right. And my husband always said the Republicans need more women because they don't care. The women will stand up there and they'll vote the way that, they think is the right way, where they want, they don't worry about getting reelected, and the men do. Victor, what a treat to be able to speak with you. Happy almost 80th birthday. That'll be a big one. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm glad to hear your voice.
Yeah, it was good to hear you. And I remember when we went to Expectations for Meet the Gulf people.
That's right. That was a long time ago at a station event, and you got all the way there, and we really appreciated you for coming out, Victor. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend, and God bless. Take care. Let's go to, do we have time here? Yeah, very quickly. Greg in New Hampshire, you're on the Rob Carson Show. Hi, Greg.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. So what do you think about this calendar? They only work part-time.
No, just working for 2 weeks out of a month just doesn't get it. And you said that the 175,000 may not be enough for living in Washington. When they get elected, they should have to sign a contract that they're going to work a full month, 40 hours a week, just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to have a cut in pay, because the average pay probably in the United States right now is probably $50,000-$60,000. That's what they need to be making. And if everybody in the United States does better, then they should get a pay raise. But they shouldn't be getting paid double or 3 times what other people are making.
Well, the average salary in Washington, D.C. is approximately $85,000 a year, but obviously that can vary significantly. I don't have a problem paying $175,000, especially to live in Washington, D.C. I'm okay with that. But we pay for security, not for all of them. Not all of them have security. Only certain ones have security. But live outside of the district. You just don't live in the district. You live outside the district. That's what I had to do when I was working down there. I lived in Maryland, up in Friendship Heights. So,
the dormitories sound good to me.
Yeah, or
at the Capitol somewhere, and stay there and do your job.
Yeah, and some of them were sleeping. I think it was what's his name? I can see his face, and he left. He's a commentator over on Fox now. I can't remember his name, but anyway, he used to sleep in his office to save money. That's fine. I don't care if you want to sleep in your office. The offices are nice. That's fine. Go do your thing. But
they need to do what they're elected, and that's to pass laws and solve things.
Right. No, I agree. The Senate gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks off after Friday. They're not back in session until the 14th of December. That's insane.
That's the biggest bunch of what there is.
Yep. That's a problem. All right. Thank you so much, Greg. A pleasure speaking with you, and have a wonderful weekend. Appreciate it. All right. 800-922-6680. I was looking at this calendar and I was like, wait, I knew they were off a lot, but this is crazy. This is crazy. The rest of us have contracts and you get X number of days off. And if America's famous for your first year in a job, unless you're like years down the road in a professional and you've established yourself, you get 1 week off, you get 5 days. That's it, or 7 days, whatever it happens to be. And there are certain holidays you get off, and sometimes you can switch them. I worked many holidays when I had a full-time job in radio. I worked many holidays, and then I got to take those days later. I got to bank them. But the last 20 years, either my husband or I are working on a holiday. We have not had a holiday off together in 20 years easily. We have 4th of July off this year, but it was on a weekend. But even then, that's dicey because of his job or my job. So I don't feel sorry for them. And actually, I'm a little angry. Should they be working? 800-922-6680 or tag me in a post over on X at Mary Walter Radio. No S, Mary Walter Radio. More coming up on The Rob Carson Show.
Here's the deal. The government...
You know, with this music, you can tell Rob never did a morning show. Can you imagine playing that in the morning? Everybody be like, whoa, jumping out of bed. Oh, dear Lord. His taste in music befuddles me. A lot about Rob befuddles me, but I do adore him. Speaking of music, did you hear about this? The Zac Brown Band, at their concert in Fenway Park in Boston on Sunday, they have a song called Same Boat. If you're a country music fan, you've heard Zac Brown's Same Boat. It's from 2021. We're all in the same boat. And before they played that song, Zac Brown announces there were more than 37,000 fans in the ballpark watching the concert. And he says, tonight we're going to do something that even Jimmy, meaning Jimmy Buffett, and oh my gosh, I have a Jimmy Buffett concert t-shirt on. Oh, before I knew he was a limousine liberal. This is a long time ago. It was an old shirt. Anyway, he said, this is something that even Jimmy would say is crazy. I'm buying every single person here a cruise for 2 people on the boat. This is the biggest giveaway in history, ladies and gentlemen. Then the people who were there at the concert were told to text Same Boat Boston to a special number before 11:59 p.m. in order to claim their free cruise tickets aboard the Margaritaville at Sea, which can be redeemed on select sailings over the course of the next year. And that's insane. You and a guest, just because you went to this concert, you and a guest each get a ticket to go on a Jimmy Buffett cruise, the Margaritaville at Sea cruise, anytime in the next year. Select sailings. So you got a bunch of dates. And I would assume they're like not peak dates when everybody wants to go. They're not like President's Day weekend. They're not like, holidays, that type of thing. Off season. And his team, Zac Brown's band, teamed up with the cruise line, which also served as the lead sponsor for their tour, the Love and Fear tour. The entire giveaway is reportedly valued at nearly $40 million. Well, that seems like a bit much because, yeah. So you had what, 74,000 tickets, right? Each 37,000 people in the arena approximately, and they each get to bring one person, right? So double it, 77 or 4, 3 and 3 or 6, 7. So I was right, 74,000 people, and it's valued at nearly $40 million. Each person's ticket can't be $1 million. That can't be right. That doesn't make any sense to me, but maybe there's more to come. I don't know. Maybe they're going to do it again. Brown and his band now hold the record for the most consecutive sold-out performances at Fenway Park and the most tickets sold in the ballpark's history. Sunday's concert also made for Zac Brown Band's 15th consecutive sold-out show, so kudos to them. Now, quickly, did you hear? So, I don't know if you heard this. There's a Florida steakhouse called Class, Class, Class Soiree Steakhouse. Now, right there, by the name of it, to me, it sounds cheesy. Like it's trying to be super upscale with the name and everything, and you just know it's cheesy. That's just my first impression. They're in the city of Hollywood, and they are offering nude dining on the first Monday of every month. Yeah, they got the special idea for a stripped down dinner after a nudist group rented out the restaurant and ate their meal in the buff. $250 if you're a man to eat there, $150 if you're a woman, $300 if you're a couple and you want to partake in this. You get hors d'oeuvres, surf and turf dinner, and a champagne toast. And they give you a robe when you come in, but they say most people just discard the robe. Thank you. No, I can't even eat in my bathing suit. I feel gross. I can't even imagine that. All right, more coming up. You're listening to The Rob Carson Show.
The Rob Carson Show is presented by Paramount Plus.
This isn't the end of a fight. It's the start of one. Lioness, the critically acclaimed original series from Taylor Sheridan, returns August 2nd only on Paramount Plus. It's the new season. Hidden networks, foreign operatives, and personal betrayals collide while Joe walks the line between duty and family. Don't miss Lioness, starring Zoe Saldana, Michael Kelly, with Morgan Freeman and Nicole Kidman. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
When let us sit aside causes quite an attack, cyclosporin. When raspberries you eat keeps you on the throne seat, cyclosporin. Stomach churns and you'll feel some burns as the parasite starts to infect you. To the drugstore you go, pick up some Pepto that you know won't protect you or affect you. Taco that you consumed, it was safe, you assumed cyclosporin. The feeling you get that you'd like to forget you're in pain. When it's clear you are one suffering senorita. Excuse me, can't you see no more salads for me, cyclosporin? Cyclosporin.
Hey guys, it's Carson. You know, when it comes to supplements, two things matter most. A, that it works, and B, that you can trust it. We hear from people every single day whose lives have changed, including mine, and we'd like you to hear a few of their stories. Chris has spent years of doing physical work, leaving his feet sore at the end of the day. After starting Relief Factor, he felt so good, he did something he'd never done before. He ran a half marathon. Now he tells all his friends about Relief Factor. I can still move furniture, I can still ride my mountain bike, I can still lift heavy weights, and Relief Factor makes all of those tasks pain-free for me. 3 weeks for just $17.76. Simply go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. We hope you'll soon be sharing your story with us too. Again, ReliefFactor.com or 800-4RELIEF.
We get special music for Michael.
Okay.
Why are you doing this? It was our idea together, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
We agreed to say that, but
Take
It's a beauty way to go.
Oh, I love some special music. Michael Charbon, Newsmax's Canadian correspondent, host of the Charbon Report. You can find him on X at Michael A. Charbon, SHCHARBON. Michael, thank you for joining me.
Mary, it's an honor to be with you on the Rob Carson Show, and also Rob's, nationally syndicated radio listeners, as well as streaming live on Newsmax.
That's.
I got to tell you, I almost fell off my chair.
Yes.
I almost fell off my chair when you were talking about a nudist colony eating in a restaurant. I have to admit, my wife and I went to hedonism, and I'm going to tell you, of all the people, including myself and my wife, we were not attractive nude, and I couldn't see eating a meal with people around you with no clothes on. It's...
I'm with you. I can't. First of all, you went to hedonism, you dirty, dirty boy.
I went there with my wife.
I know, but still, so there is, I live in the People's Socialist Republic of New Jersey, and we have a state park. They actually have a nude beach in it because I live at the shore, and it's very tightly policed. People who go to it are very big on, if they see anybody taking pictures, they go up to them. And anyway, so they were thinking about closing it. So when I was working in local radio, I went there and did a report from the beach, but I wore a bathing suit because there's no way. And it's weird for the first 20 minutes, people walking up at the ice cream truck and the food trucks. And it's weird. And then after 20 minutes, you don't notice it anymore. At least for me, I didn't notice anymore, but I'm uncomfortable eating a meal in my bathing suit. I still have to put a cover up on or something. I cannot imagine eating in the nude. I just can't with other people around me. I just forget it. Not doing it.
It's just, I just have to comment on that because to be absolutely honest, people look much better with clothes on. I think that's why in the late times, they always turn the lights out when you go to bed. There's a reason for that.
That's right. Well, they are given a seat cushion and a lap towel when they come in to eat. And they are also given a robe, but most of them refuse it and often get rid of it. And he says it's very popular. What we're doing is special. So we'll see if it survives.
Mary, I think it's kind of just to do something different, to be different and say you're different. Because honest to goodness, I don't get the appeal. I mean, I think even Scottish men, with the freedom that they have under their kilt, they still have to be careful where they sit.
Yes, they do. Although we saw a lot of those kilts at the World Cup, and they apparently wear something under the kilt from what I could see, if the World Cup is any kind of monitor of what's under the kilt. So, Michael, what does the growing socialism in the United States look like from the north looking south? What's your reaction to it?
Well, Canadians are shocked. I mean, if you looked at the standard bearer of democracy and freedom, and the standard bearer is America in many ways. I mean, you are, whether you want to admit it or not, are the police force of the world. You come to the rescue to countries who are in need and stand up for democracy and people who are in peril. The United States comes to the rescue. And when you see socialism rising in the United States, from a Canadian perspective, it's very distressing because socialism contravenes everything that America stands for, the American dream, entrepreneurialism, working hard. I mean, it is a unfortunate reactionary position, I think, and many other people also share this view of Gen Z being frustrated with student debt, not many jobs available, but communism is not the answer. And with Mamdani being the mayor of New York, it was an absolute shock, and we can see what's happening to New York. So I think there's many Canadians, as well as many other people in the world, who are looking in upon this and can't believe it. Like, what are you doing, America? And let us hope that the Democrats realize that this is something that's going to kill their party. But we just don't get it. It's very confusing, and I don't see where it's going to go in any positive rain, Mary.
Well, we have a generation coming up, the under 30 crowd is, this meme that I love, it says, only in America can a kid wear $175 shoes, sip a $6 coffee, and it's more like $9, and post from a $1,200 phone about being oppressed and claiming capitalism has failed them. And we raised a generation that was very affected by COVID, that was was really the first fully indoctrinated in liberal theology generation. And parents didn't pay attention to what the kids were doing in school because parents are, out working and doing this, that, and the other thing, and didn't have time to pay attention to it. I'm sure they didn't attend school board meetings or any of those things. So it was kind of like the perfect storm. You combine that with COVID. These kids' social skills are really, really, I think, affected by COVID for a really long time. And you also have a lot, but not all, but there's a lot of Gen Z that never had chores, never had to earn money as kids. Like I started chores when I was like in kindergarten. My parents are like, okay, you're a big girl. So I had to like make sure my chores were making sure that my toys were put away, and I had a little chore chart on the basement door, and I got to put a star up for each one that I did. And then I got a reward. So I learned from an early age. And then when we got older, we had paying jobs. And I see videos, and of course, I'm sure these are the ones that get all the attention, but videos of these kids who get out of college and they get a job and they're like, I can't work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And then I have to come home and I have to go to the gym and then I have to eat my dinner and then I just go to bed. How is this life? This is terrible. How can you do this 5 days a week for the next 40 years? And I'm like, that's because you never had a job, sweetheart. So I think the expectations of this generation are also somewhat unrealistic. I think they're warped by social media about what life is supposed to be by these TikToker influencers who are getting paid to be at these, luxurious resorts and carry all these products that are really super expensive. That's not reality. So I think they've grown up with a very warped sense of the world. What do you think?
I agree with you 100%. They live in a world of incumbency, as you described, with the shoes, the coffee, and that. And then if they start to live on their own, they say it's so expensive to eat because you skip the dishes every day. I mean, I think many of your viewers, I would hope, when we grew up, financial reward was as a result of putting in work. Anybody who's ever worked in the media, be it television or film or radio, in many instances, you would volunteer your time for a long, extended period to be able to get some insight. You can call it an intern, as they lovely call it today, but it's paying your dues back then. And you didn't get any money. You had to have a side job to be able to pull it off so you could do eventually what you wanted to do. That initiative does not exist anymore. People think that once they graduate from school, automatically they're going to get a $120,000 job, right, and they can buy their Tesla and their house. It does not work like that. And I think they're having a shock factor. Yeah. And these are the people that are going to pay into the old age pension for when other folks reach that time. There's going to be a shock. And as we start talking about AI now, where AI is starting to take over those jobs that have less mandatory education and skill set, they're going to be replaced. And you know what they say. I mean, it's happened in China when you have a large portion of a population who has no motivation and has no way to fulfill their dreams and think they're being screwed. The next thing that happens is that they go to war. So I don't know. It's going to be a grave situation, and I agree with your indoctrination of liberalism in our education system. And I think that's one of the things that the Republicans now are starting to do is to evaluate the equal time for equal discussion. You could be a Democrat and you could be a Republican and still have decorum to discuss, but that isn't happening now.
Yeah,
I mean, look what happened to that person who had the hat on, etc. It's wrong, Mary.
Yeah, the generation that has more information that they carry around with them at the tip of their fingers, right, on their phones. They have the world of information on their phones. We had to go to the library. And I remember when I was really young, we had the Dewey Decimal System with the card catalog. Remember, we had to learn how to do that. Yep. And
committee, protect the Senate's institute.
Live from Newsmax Studios in Washington, D.C., the most interesting, informative, and funny show in America, on air and on the World Wide Web. This is The Rob Carson Show.
And I'm Mary Walter, in for Rob Carson. If you want to join me, it's 800-922-6680. I think we got the sound back. You know, it's hard when you've got someone new who's filling in for somebody because you have a different setup. Everybody's got a different setup, so you got to make it work. And I spent 45 minutes yesterday learning how, on my end, how to make it all work, because apparently everything's got to come through me to get to you. So it's very complicated. I even have a schematic. Look at that. See, I even have a schematic drawn on how to make it all work. So it's like, I don't know if you can see that, but it's like I'm an engineer now. And I apologize. I thought it'd be so cool wearing a concert shirt, like a vintage concert shirt, and it apparently doesn't look that great on camera, so I look a little sloppy. I apologize for that. All right, coming up later this hour, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer will be joining us. Next hour, we're joined by Justine Brooks Murray. So we'll be talking to Tony about, obviously, Iran. We're going to be talking about what's happening there. And also, remember, Gaza's still going on. We got that thing still going on, too. That's really quieted down while we talk about Iran. So that's going on. I want to talk about something in the news. It's not really political, but I guess it kind of is. It's really more of a what would you do kind of thing. And I think that people are going to react strongly to this, and I could be wrong. So this happened in Ohio. And there's a guy named Malik Chandler. He's 31. And last month, he has an 11-year-old daughter. And last month, her mom discovered a video on the daughter's phone that showed a man named Diego Montoya Gonzalez, age 20, sexually assaulting the girl in her home. 11 years old. So this guy, I mean, clearly she was letting him in. One would assume she's letting the guy in. And because she had this on her phone. Now, who knows? We'll find out more as time goes on. Maybe, you know, he was sextorting her. I don't know. But somehow this video winds up on the daughter's phone of this 20-year-old with the 11-year-old. So dad finds out about it. And the next day, dad pretended to be his daughter on TikTok to get Diego back to the home, and he shot him twice. Kind of get it. I can't imagine that my father would not have done the same thing, and my brothers. Can't imagine that it wouldn't happen. And I think dads understand this. Now, he told investigators that he intended to just beat Montoya Gonzalez up, Diego up, and hold him there and then call the police. But he thought he saw the guy reach for his pocket, and he knows that he has bragged on social media about having a gun. So he picked his own gun up and fired at him first. But he thought he was going for the gun. Turns out the guy did not have a gun on him when he arrived. So he called the cops. Police get there. They find the Diego. I hate to call him the victim because he's really not the victim in all of this in my book. They find him sitting in a chair, 2 gunshot wounds, transported to a hospital, and they were not fatal or anything along those lines. So he was charged with. He was indicted by a grand jury Friday on 5 counts of pandering sexual-oriented material, 2 counts of rape, and 1 count of obstruction of official business. Prosecutors allege that they found several videos on his phone showing the sexual abuse of children, including 1 clip of an infant or toddler. And the father was charged with felony assault, and his bond was set at $100,000. How much do you think Diego's bond was set at? How much do you think that was set at? A judge set a $20,000 recognizance bond and a $50,000 cash bond. So he possessed, according to prosecutors, child porn on his phone. There is a video of him sexually assaulting an 11-year-old girl. And his cash bond is half that of the father. Now, I get that the father shot him, but I got to tell you, I don't feel that badly about it. I just don't. He's very lucky it wasn't worse, in my humble opinion. I'm glad that he wasn't killed. I'm really glad, because that'd be worse for the father. But why do we let these people out of jail? Like, why? Why is the father's bond twice that of Diego's? I don't understand that. A 20-year-old assaulting an 11-year-old. And according to the prosecutors, there were other sexual abuse videos. So he recorded this stuff, including a clip of an infant or toddler. Why is this man not in jail forever? Why? So I'm curious, does this dad deserve to have his bond set at $100,000? 800-922-6680, 800-922-6680, or tag me in a post on X at Mary Walter Radio, no S, just Mary Walter Radio. I don't know, like, part of me wants to go pay part of his bond. Do you know what I mean? Like, part of me wants to go, like, you know what, dude, I'm going to bail you out. I think where he went wrong was where he pretended to be the daughter and he lured him in. I don't know. But, and I know that who's the guy who lures them in? Oh, what's his name? And he's made like a whole career out of luring these child predators in, and they then surprise him, and he's got the cops with him. You know, obviously that's the way to do it. But if Diego, the alleged assaulter, is released from jail, he's been ordered to have no contact with the victim and her family. He's banned from using the internet for any purposes outside of work. Okay, so he gets to go back to work, and he just has to pinky swear that he's never going to do it again. Really? These are children. These are people that I firmly believe cannot be rehabilitated. There's something wrong with them. They're sick. I'm sorry that this is like your little kink. I'm sorry. But it has victims. There are victims involved here. This is not a victimless crime. And these are the people that, I mean, what do we do with them? You can throw them away in jail forever. You can give them therapy. You can do this. But I just don't think any of that works. I just don't think it does. So you can disagree with me, and that's fine. 800-922-6680. But I think every dad in America listening to this right now would be like, yeah, I might do the same thing. Your 11-year-old little girl, that girl is going to be scarred for life. She is going to carry this around for the rest of her life, and this guy can bond out. And it's going to take twice as much money for daddy to bond out. That's what I don't understand. Eight 800-922-6680. So there's that. If you want to comment on that, I'm just absolutely gobsmacked at the entire thing and can't understand it. And I'm just curious how you would feel about this if this were your kid. And mom told dad, obviously, which is great. And isn't it great to see parents, like two parents actually parenting a child and defending that child? I think we need more of that, not less of that. Let's head to Towson, Maryland. Mike, you're on the Rob Carson Show. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, go ahead.
Question for you.
Yeah.
What city and state was this happened in?
Ohio. I don't know the city. Let me see. Oh, it just says Ohio.
Okay.
Well, he went to the hospital in Columbus. He went to the hospital in Columbus, so it's probably in the suburbs or in Columbus. Yeah.
Okay. Because the reason I ask is, if it would happen to be a sanctuary city or sanctuary state, such as California, New York, Chicago, we can understand why the judge would do that.
Right. But this is a city.
Where the judge is has a lot to do with it.
This is a city. You're right. The judge, but isn't it weird that we just allow the judges to decide? Aren't there laws? Aren't there laws that the judge has to say, this is, the law applies to you and we can't just let you roam the streets again?
Well, that's because the legislature, in whatever jurisdiction it is woke. And the woke legislatures, they want to keep the criminals and they don't want to help the actual citizens.
What do they get? Can I ask you a question? Because I agree with you. Why do you think that is? Like, what do they get out of it? What is the upside here? I don't understand.
That's what they get out of it. It's all about power.
That's fair. That's fair. It's all about power, and to hell with the little girl, and to hell with if this is true, if these other videos are real that he has on his phone.
There's hundreds and hundreds of examples. Just look at any weekend in Chicago.
That's true.
I don't have to say any more than that.
Yeah. It's very true. And it's sad. And they keep voting Democrat, and the Democrats keep instilling these judges, and they all sit there and wonder what happened, and they blame somebody else. Mike, great point. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it here on the Rob Carson Show. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm getting very annoyed because also the other thing is too is, John Roberts, the Chief Justice, has the right to rein some of these judges in, like Boasberg, etc. Some of these federal judges, he can rein them in. And I think maybe that's where we need to start. He needs to start reining these judges in who constantly get slapped down by higher courts, like Judge Boasberg. Because there's no penalty for them getting it wrong. And maybe we don't do lifetime appointments for some of these judges anymore, because they keep getting it wrong, because they're ideologues and because they're political and they're acting politically. And then this happens. And I don't know if this guy has a job to go back to. I have no idea. But it says that he is even banned from using the internet for any purposes outside of work. And we're just going to believe this guy? I'm sorry, but I'm outraged about this whole thing. I think this is absolutely disgusting. And I know how my father and brothers would have handled this. Heck, when I was in high school, there was some guy who was younger, and he had asked me out, and I turned him down. I was like, no, thanks. And he got really mad. And he pushed me up against a locker, like, boom. And I'm like, what the heck is happening here? And I just like dropped my books, picked everything up, and went into my next class. And he followed me into the class. He was mad. And that was the end of it. And, my friends found out about it. And so I was a senior, and we had a senior patio outside. And my guy friends are like, invite him out onto the patio, invite him out onto the patio. I'm like, no, we're not going to do that, because you guys are going to get in trouble. You guys are going to get in trouble, and it's not worth it. He's not worth it. But that's how back in the day it was handled. And to think that it has changed so much in that period of time. And remember, I'm Gen X, that it changed that much, to me, is frightening. Where have our values, where have our morals gone? It's just absolutely disgusting. If you want to jump in, 800-922-6680. You can reach out to me on X at Mary Walter Radio. The Dreaded Solman says it's about rendering childhood innocence in the worst way. And he also said you put child porn convict friendly sentencing Ketanji Brown Jackson on the Supreme Court. I don't know if that's correct about her. I know she doesn't know what a woman is, but I haven't heard the rest of that. Anyway. All right. Your call's coming up on the Rob Carson Show.
CBM.
And welcome back to the Rob Carson Show. Mary Walter sitting in for Robin with you tomorrow as well. And I promise I won't hear 800-922-6680 is my number. 800-922-6680. Tag me to post on X at Mary Walter Radio. Let's head to Sparrows Point. Nick, welcome. You're on the Rob Carson Show. What do you think about these rulings?
Hey, Mary. Good to be with you. You're an excellent talk show host, by the way.
Thank you.
These judges need to be reined in, and really what Trump needs to do is to just pull the Insurrection Act, because what they're doing, it's all to tear the society apart. I mean, they don't care about kids, they don't care about anybody.
Right.
They just care about power.
Well, I think they're politically motivated and they get drunk on this power thing. Do you know what I mean? Like because they have the ability to make people's lives miserable. I think they do.
And also they win through intimidation. That's what this extremism is.
Very true. And we do have, it's a sad day. And I think we have a problem in this country when, and I don't know if this is politically motivated. I have no idea. We don't know. Maybe there's extenuating circumstances that we don't know about that the judge does, right? So I'm willing to say, okay, we don't know everything, but on its face, I think most people look at this and say, this is not justice. In my humble opinion. Listen, should he have lured the guy in and shot him? No, that was a bad way to handle it. Does he need to be punished and have some punishment for that? Yes. However, since the left always wants us to look at what's in the mind of the criminal, especially if they're in the country illegally, we have to look at what's in their mind, you know? Maybe we need to look at what's in the mind of this dad when he found out about what happened to his little girl and take that into consideration.
It gets into the emotional thing too with the dad.
Right.
I mean, it's the instinct of a father, of a male, you know. I mean, you're going to protect your offspring. You're going to protect your wife, your girlfriend, you know. I mean, it's all that. And these judges are just, you know, pushing against that. And again, it is politically motivated, I think. And it's also, again, to tear down our society. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, no, I just think that maybe it's just a generational thing, and that's what I fear that it is. That it's a different generation, and our generation. I don't know how old you are, but it was not about feelings. It was about like, hey, look, this is what happened. And listen, as I said, the father's not 100% in the right. However, I just think that there is, I don't know, there's a certain set of morals. And I don't know that we necessarily have them anymore. Thank you so much for joining me, Nick. A pleasure having you here on the Rob Carson Show. Have a wonderful weekend. Tony Shaffer will be joining us coming up after the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk about any progress in Iran, if any is being made. In the meantime, I just wanted to tell you that the White House released a newly declassified set of FBI memos that show that the Bureau opened a 2017 counterintelligence investigation into finding out whether President Trump was connected to Russia. Another one. And they did it because he fired James Comey. So it was after Comey was fired. The investigation was codenamed Oxford, but they spelled Oxford wrong. So they don't know if that was intentional or not. And it was opened after, as I said, he fired James Comey in 2017. Investigators sought to determine whether Trump was, quote, directed by, controlled by, and or coordinated activities with the Russian Federation in a manner constituting a threat to the national security of the United States and or a violation of federal criminal statutes. This is a memo that jump-started the investigation in May of 2017, right after James Comey was fired. And then they used this to then, a week after the firing, the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein appoints Robert Mueller as special counsel to take over this assumption that, we have to find out if Trump's a Russian asset. And you get Crossfire Hurricane, a full-blown investigation into Trump and everyone around him, even though they knew that there was nothing to tie, they had no evidence to tie Trump to Russia. But this looks like this was a payback to Trump for firing James Comey. And remember, Mueller found that the Russian government sought to influence the election through a social media disinformation campaign and by hacking Democrat Party emails. So very interesting. More and more comes out. And unfortunately, mainstream media isn't going to report it. They don't care. They just don't care. And they keep people ignorant. All right, we're going to find out what's going on in Iran. Also, I want to bring up Gaza with Tony as well, because what's happening there? Haven't heard anything about that in a while. So don't go anywhere. I'm Mary Walter, and you're listening to The Rob Carson Show.
The Rob Carson Show is presented by Paramount Plus.
This isn't the end of a fight. It's the start of one. Lioness, the critically acclaimed original series from Taylor Sheridan, returns August 2nd only on Paramount Plus. It's the new season. Hidden networks, foreign operatives, and personal betrayals collide while Joe walks the line between duty and family. Don't miss Lioness, starring Zoe Saldana, Michael Kelly, with Morgan Freeman and Nicole Kidman. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Hi, it's Tony Marino, host of the super popular Newsmax Daily podcast, a rundown of the day's top headlines and top highlights of Newsmax shows and interviews you may have missed, plus some sports, stock markets, and even some yucks, all packed into about 20 minutes. Search for the Newsmax Daily with me, Tony Marino, on your favorite podcast platform, and check out our entire lineup of great podcasts, including Greg Kelly, Rob Carson, and Jerry Callahan at newsmax.com/listen.
Houthis, goodbye. Houthis, you'll die. Your killing days are over. You're gonna need more than a four-leaf clover. Houthis, you're through. No one feels bad for you. Wiping you out, ending all doubt. If you're destroyed, I doubt that anybody would pout. Houthis, goodbye. And I'm sure you know why. Trump's bombing you. What will you do? Ending your reign of terror is overdue. Houthis, they're on the run. Houthis are done.
Doug took Relief Factor for nearly a year before convincing his wife, a special needs teacher, to try it. She had been using assistance just to move through the long hallway at school. Now she's back on her feet every day. Never had to leave the job she loves. I can attest to this. I ride my mountain bike every weekend from 30 to 50 miles. I lift weights, and I'm lifting heavier than I did when I was 30 without pain. People like Doug make it easy to find out if you'll be the next person telling us Relief Factor gave you what you love. 3 weeks for just $17.76. Simply go to relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. We hope you'll be sharing your story with us too. relieffactor.com or 1-800-4RELIEF.
No blind rhetoric.
No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think. Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax. Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think. They let me decide.
Real news for real people.
The Rob Carson Show is presented by Paramount Plus.
Welcome back to the Rob Carson Show. I'm Mary Walter in for Rob. Coming up next hour, Justine Brooke Murray will be joining us to discuss news of the day. And there is a lot of news to talk about. We haven't even scratched the surface. There's just so much happening out there. And it's interesting. There's like no one big overriding story, but there's lots of little stories, all things that are just like, there's just, it's just a cornucopia. Joining us now, Tony Shaffer, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, a U.S. Army retired, president of Project Sentinel 2020 campaign, national security advisor, and he is an author as well. He is joining us on the Newsmax Hotline. Tony, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mary, always great to join you, and I'm glad you're filling in for Rob.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. It's always good to see you and hear you. And you can also see Tony on my podcast. He has joined me several times. Just go to Mary Walter Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, YouTube, Rumble, or Getter, and you can see his smiling face. And congratulations on Mr. Newly Married.
Oh, thank you. It's a new chapter in a life, and a good one too. So it's been a lot of fun so far.
Yeah, it did look really good. My invitation must have been lost in the mail. You can follow Tony at TSpooky on socials. So we were speaking with Blaine Holt yesterday about Iran and what's going on there, and he called it. He said, we in years down the road, we may just call this the lather, rinse, repeat war, because it seems as every day it's either they broke the truce and fired at a neighboring country or on a ship, we retaliate. You get peace for a couple of days. We hear, oh yeah, they've got a new peace agreement, and then they break it, and then we retaliate, and we go round and round and round and round. Is that where we still are today?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I've been using the quote from Yogi Berra, deja vu all over again, and it is over and over. And I think there's a couple different reasons. I do still believe President Trump is not only giving him time because he wants to be fair and try to give these guys a chance to stay, alive, don't meet a law as early as maybe they want. But also he's trying to reconfigure how global energy and transportation of energy is done. So, we recognize that the transportation of oil globally has been disrupted. One of the side effects of this, Mary, is that U.S. producers are producing oil at record amounts and making record profits, which President Trump is not happy about either, because he's saying they're making too much money. So it is, a story of multiple facets of outcome. And the fact is, while Iran is being troublesome, they're basically making these agreements. It's like 6 or 7 times now we've heard, oh yeah, we're going to have this agreement in place. Even if it is agreed to, it's violated within minutes, if not hours. And I think it's going to continue until there's a complete and effective removal of their ability to fight, which means the defeat of the IRGC completely.
Well, to eliminate the IRGC completely, don't you have to just obliterate Iran? Because they have they build their tunnels and they hide. They do what all terrorists and cowards do: is they hide behind hospitals and schools and in apartment buildings, etc. You're just gonna have to obliterate the whole thing.
There's ways of ending their ability to fight by going through what I would call centers of gravity. And one of them we're kind of semi-addressing. One of the is the ability to generate income and regenerate themselves. So we've not defeated them in any substantive way because, we've taken away their Navy. They don't have an Air Force. We've reduced their ability to move stuff around. They still are functioning. And to them, as long as they can function, as long as they survive, that's a win. That's all they need. So we've got to basically make sure that they understand they're defeated. And I've used the parallel of World War II. The Germans knew they were defeated completely. There was no doubt they were defeated. Mm-hmm. Same with Japan. And so we've got to get to that point where it's not so much what the international community believes, it's what the government of Iran believes. And we had to get to both of those end states regarding Japan and Germany in a pretty severe way. It took some pretty big firepower and use of that firepower. So that's what I'm saying. It's like we may have to go to a level that people feel uncomfortable with, but they have to be defeated completely, and they have to know they've been defeated.
And we've talked about this before, and I think we all know, anyone who listens to talk radio knows that it's a religious war for them. And when something's a religious war, it's not, like you said, it's not going to be like Nazi Germany where they're going to say, okay, we're defeated, or Japan, like, okay, we give, because in their mind, they will never be defeated because they're fighting such a just war. They are fighting for God. They're fighting God's war. So they don't win until we're defeated or they blow up the world. Like that, those are the only two options for them. So I guess my question is how long does this take? I don't know what the answer to this is. You say, okay, well, we gotta get rid of the IRGC. We've gotta get them to the point where they realize they're defeated. But I don't know what that point is. What is that point?
Well, I think that's the issue that they're counting on. We don't know the issue, and simply them surviving is a victory. And they believe that dragging this out, going back and forth. That's why this is rope-a-dope. This is why they go, we agree about nuclear weapons, and then 10 minutes later it's like, no, we don't agree. Because this is all buying time for them. They see this as a way of preserving their country to fight again down the road. That's why I'm saying it's like, and I've said this too in advising some of the folks I advise, if they want death, they're saying they want to meet a law, they want to have the apocalypse, just give it to them. We know how to do apocalypse. We'll do it for you. I think it's one of those things where they say this big, they mean it, but you've got to get to the point of where just take the wind out of their sails. You have to do something to actually defeat them.
What does
because
that?
This has been lingering since 1947, and if we just continue to kick the can down the road, this will come back just like any other cancer and metastasize and get bad again.
So what does that? What does that? Are we talking about dropping another nuke? Are we talking about ground troops? What does that? What is that going to take?
Well, I think there's three different areas that would do that. And you could nuclear weapons. That is an option. You could look at seizing the means of their production of their economy, strangling it off. Most of their economy is based on oil. Those oil fields can be taken and held. I'm not saying it would be easy, but it's possible. And we could do it pretty quick. And third, I think most importantly, which has not happened yet, the people of Iran rise up. And I think one of the things we're trying to do right now, and Blaine probably talked about it, we're trying to encourage by working with rebel groups and organizations to actually step up and do that hard work of throwing off the yoke of theocracy. Because let's face it, if the people of Iran make it so that Iran cannot be governable, that will defeat the IRGC. And this is where there's more people who are not radical Islamists than there are. And if they rose up, their voice would be heard. And I think we could help them defeat the IRGC.
Yeah, he did talk about what he said. There are groups, apparently three places around the country where they're organizing the citizens, where they're organizing the people there to be able to rise up against the mullahs. And he also mentioned the Kurds. Trump is mad at the Kurds because Trump claims we gave them weapons and they did not pass them on to the people as they were supposed to do, that they kept them for themselves. Can we trust the Kurds?
Well, the Kurds, as long as their interests are addressed, the Kurds are, and this is one of those difficult things. They want their own home. They want their own state, their own country. So that's what their objective always is. And one of the things that's been noted is to give them that, Mary, you have to actually give them part of Iran. Part of Kurdistan is in Iran. They've had the Kurds there pretty much, since the beginning of all the breaking up of different nations just after World War One. So the quid pro quo for the Kurds is, if we do this, we want our own country, and that's a difficult thing because Turkey and Iraq would also be required to give up part of their country so it's a difficult equation, and that's what we'd have to deal with if we bring the Kurds in as a full partner.
Yeah. All right. Coming back, I want to talk to you a little bit more about the economic point of it. But I also, if we have time, I want to get into Gaza. So maybe we'll just go right into Gaza because I haven't heard anything about that. Like suddenly no one's concerned about the genocide in Gaza. They remember that genocide. It's terrible. Everybody was into it. We had Greta Thunberg on a boat trying to get to Gaza. And shockingly, that didn't work out well. But now nobody seems to be talking about it. So I want to talk about that with you to see what's happening there, if anything. And we'll do that coming up. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to The Rob Carson Show.
County.
And welcome back to the Rob Carson Show. I'm Mary Walter for Rob Carson. Joining us on the Newsmax Hotline is Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer joining us. You can find him on all socials at TSpooky. Super easy. We're talking about Iran, and I also wanted to, if we have time, I want to go back to that. But before we do that, I'd like to talk to you about Gaza, because we've heard nothing about that. That just like dropped off the radar. Why is that? Why did that whole story just die out?
Well, I think it's because they don't have a whole story to provide. Out of the blue, about 4 or 5 days ago, they just, so we've got everything fixed. We've got this international coalition coming in. We've got an agreement with Hamas to drop off at certain caches. They're going to give us plans for the tunnels, and then nothing. And there was no confirmation from Hamas and everything else. So, and there's issues with the Israelis. The Israelis right now are, kind of prosecuting the offensive in Lebanon towards with the interest and goal of getting rid of Hezbollah, the other big group they're dealing with up there. So I think it's because it wasn't really ready for prime time. I think someone, maybe President Trump, said, hadn't had an update, give them an update. And they listened, and they did what they were told, but the update really wasn't adequate for giving anybody any idea of when, if ever, this is all going to happen. And I've argued from the beginning, Mary, this international security force should have been there the day after they signed the agreement. This is not something we should be talking about a year later. So I'm pretty frustrated with the whole thing right now.
It's so confusing. This is why the Middle East, I think, has just been a mess for all of eternity, right? Like for all of eternity, you have all these tribes. You've got these different religious zealots on all around the spectrum, and they're all concentrated in a very small neighborhood, and they're all fighting for the same territory. And it's, like I said, been that way since the beginning of time. And I just think that the United States thinking that we can go in there and solve it, I just don't think we can. I don't think we can.
It's not our job.
I'm sorry?
No, it's not our job. But with that said, if President Trump has made the decision and we're going to go in there and try to be helpful, okay, it's good. But after a certain amount of time, he needs to understand, to your point, Mary, is like, this was a mess before we got here. It's going to be a mess when we leave. There's that Billy Joel song, "We Didn't Start the Fire." And that's kind of where we're at right now, no?
Yeah, very, very true. You talked, just quickly going back to Iran, I have 2 minutes here. Going back to that, you had said one of the ways that we can get the mullahs to realize that it's time to go home, closing time, the party's over, it's time to leave, like they did, like the Germans did and the Japanese did in World War II, to get them to realize that was economically. And there's there's a report out now that apparently an investigation was published yesterday by an Iranian newspaper, and it described supermarket workers encountering customers who are hiding inexpensive food items or eating packages of products inside the stores without paying. And they are anecdotal stories, but they are saying it reflects the mounting pressure created by inflation, currency deprivation, and collapsing purchasing power. Are we, as the United States, now going to be accused of starving the people of Iran now?
Well, that started before we were involved in the war. As a matter of fact, it was the upheaval caused by the lack of merchandise by the merchant class, which started this. Remember, at the beginning of the war, before we started the conflict, the Iranians were about to murder a bunch of their people because of this, because there was an uprising. So it's not the chicken or the egg. It's pretty clear that no, this existed before we got there. What, again, I think we're hoping for is to make it so that the people who are experiencing these shortages see a light at the end of the tunnel and will organize around trying to help us free them. And I think that's what's going on. So no, we didn't cause that. It was there before, but it may get worse just because if any resources are left, the mullahs and the IRGC are going to get them before the people do.
Of course. But I guess does what I see happening is the American media, the handmaid of the devil, will come in here and they're going to say, look at this. Look, Donald Trump is starving innocent civilians. This is what happened. It doesn't matter if it was happening before. It doesn't matter. You don't get the reports of how many people that they're killing every month. Those reports are never come out from the mainstream media. It's going to be President Trump is killing and starving innocent Iranian citizens. That's what the headlines are going to be. And does that give aid and comfort to the enemy? And they're like, you know what? They're going to destroy Trump. He's out in 2 years. We're just going to ride it out.
Yep, that's what they're trying to do, buy time. And that's why I think the president has to seek a decisive engagement that ends this on terms of our choosing, or the Iranian mullahs know they're defeated, and we're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet. Tony Shaffer, thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate it. It's always a
Sure,
treat when I
thank
get
you,
to
Mary.
speak with you again. Follow him at T Spooky on social media, and you can find him on my podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Spreaker, and videos available on Rumble, YouTube, and Getter. Thank you so much, sir. Have a wonderful weekend.
Great. Thanks, Mary.
More coming up on The Rob Carson Show. All right. Dr. Fauci's got himself some problems, and we'll see what happens because they did decide to refer Dr. Fauci to the Department of Justice. They did a direct referral. They voted for it. Of course, it was along party lines. And the Democrat, I don't know why the Democrats are protecting this guy. I don't get that. I don't understand it. Is it because he was under Obama? Excuse me, Biden. Same thing, right? Is it because because it happened under Biden and Biden gave him a pardon, so they want to protect him? I don't understand the Democrats protecting Fauci. That makes no sense to me. Why he's become this big hero to them, and so they're not going to refer him to the DOJ for referral for investigation into, I guess, because he obstructed justice. But they did not take it to the floor where it would be filibustered. So they took a different route. There's two ways you can do it. Direct referral. Now, the Democrat may be able to fight that and draw that out in court, which I'm sure that's going to be his game. He's going to wait as long as he possibly can, and then hopefully just, get it into a Democrat president, and then Fauci's in the clear, he'll skate again. But they did get Dr. Fauci's cell phone from the pandemic era. I would assume maybe it was a government phone, and then you got to give him back. Who knows if it's been wiped clean? I don't know. Maybe some bleach bit. I have no idea. The phone was transferred from the Department of Health and Human Services to the the Senate Homeland Security Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, which is chaired by Senator Ron Johnson. So he got that phone and he handed it over. So he's got it right now, this permanent security subcommittee. So whether the panel has access to the phone, though, remains unclear. And we know that the government famously cannot unlock locked cell phones. They don't know how to do it. They couldn't do it with the Mueller crowd when they all mistakenly when they all at the same time forgot their passwords and mistakenly entered the wrong password like 10 times and locked the phone forever. So we'll see what happens. This may go with the pages of Fauci's diary that were dumped, and I don't know if all of the diary was dumped, but it should, if they can get into it, give them some more good information regarding Dr. Fauci and what was going on. We now know that stuff he was putting in his diary he would then get on television afterwards and say something that totally contradicted what he put in his diary about the 6 feet apart, about the masks, about the closing of schools. Think of all the misery that was inflicted, how many people's lives were destroyed because Dr. Fauci, for whatever reason, just sought the fame and was so willing to just buy into this lie and keep it going. It's so, so sad. Coming up, Justine Brooke Murray will be joining us. We'll talk about some news of the day, and we have a lot to dig into. There's so much out there, including some statistics on Trump and how many times he's been targeted while president.
The Rob Carson Show is presented by Paramount Plus.
are about to hear the most interesting, informative, thought-provoking, and funny show in America. On air and on the World Wide Web. This is the Rob Carson Show.
Hey, welcome to the Rob Carson Show. If you're just joining me, I'm Mary Walter, sitting in for Rob Carson. I get to be with you again tomorrow. I'm very excited about that. 800-922-6680 is my number. Coming up just after the bottom of the hour, Justine Brooke Murray will be joining us. We're going to get into some of these news stories that there's just so many of them to get to and so little time. So I'm going to talk to her about some of those. I wanted to share something with you that I thought was really interesting because as I was going through this, I hadn't heard about a lot of these. And I'm willing to bet you haven't either. And if you want to jump in, 800-922-6680, feel free, or tag me in a post on X at Mary Walter Radio. So I often see that the left always says, Barack Obama was targeted more than Donald Trump for assassination. Barack Obama had 11 attempts on his life. And they go on. And I was like, okay, I didn't hear about 11 attempts on Barack Obama's life, but okay. I don't remember him being shot at, but all right, maybe there were, what do I know? And now that I've read this and I've seen this, maybe they're right. Maybe he did have 11. But this piece claims that Donald Trump had more attempts on his life than any other president. And this is a Fox News piece. So that's the source of this. So if you want to fact check him, that's where you go. They say he is, as we know, he survived 3 major assassination attempts and nearly a dozen other threat-related incidents over the past 2 years alone. Overall, he has faced nearly 20 known threats since first taking office in 2017. Now, by comparison, every other U.S. president targeted in an assassination attempt faced just 1, except for Gerald Ford. He survived 2. Those presidents include Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, Garfield, William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, John F. Kennedy, Gerald R. Ford, Reagan, Clinton, Bush, and Obama. 4 of the presidents, Lincoln, Garfield, McKinley, and Kennedy, were killed. 7 known threat-related incidents occurred during Trump's first presidency, while 4 occurred during his 2024 campaign, including those 2 assassination attempts that we all saw. His second presidency has already seen 8 additional incidents, including a 3rd assassination attempt. All right, so here we go. July 20, the first trip, let's go to the first campaign. All right, so the first time, in March of 2016, an attendee at a Trump campaign rally in Dayton, Ohio, attempted to rush the stage before they were arrested. The suspect told police he intended to grab the microphone and just shout that Trump was racist, and he didn't really intend to harm him. He got a 1-year probation. June, that was March. In June of 2016, a British national attending a Trump campaign rally in Las Vegas attempted to grab a police officer's handgun from her holster, according to the criminal complaint. And he initially told an officer, I just wanted Trump's autograph before trying to seize the weapon. And he later admitted that he intended to kill Trump. He got 12 months and 1 day in prison. A year and a day. A year and a day. November of 2016, Secret Service agents rushed Trump off the stage during a campaign rally in Nevada after an attendee shot a gun, but they didn't find anything. All right. Now, he's president. September 2017, a man stole a forklift and drove it. Did you know this? I never saw. Did I miss this? A man drove a forklift. He stole it. He drove a forklift towards Trump's presidential motorcade in an attempt to overturn the presidential limousine in North Dakota. The suspect later pleaded guilty to federal charges and was sentenced to time served and 1 year of supervised release. October, so now a year and a month go by. October 2018, a Navy veteran in Utah was charged with racist-laced letters addressed to Trump and other officials. They were intercepted before they were delivered. Charged with 5 federal counts, later found incompetent to assist in his defense. So I guess he's a dummy, so he gets off the hook. August of 21, Trump was abruptly escorted out of a briefing room during a televised news conference after a Secret Service officer shot a man who threatened to kill people near the White House. September of 2020, a suspect mailed a rice and lace letter to Trump that was intercepted before it reached the White House, and the sender, dual citizen of Canada and France, admitted to making the rice in her home in Canada. Okay, Where do you get that recipe? And was later sentenced to 262 months in prison, which was equivalent to more than 21 years, followed by lifetime supervised release. But the guy that admitted that he was trying to grab the gun from the police officer to try to kill Trump got 12 months and 1 day. This woman got more than 21 years. But the guy who tried to grab the officer's gun saying, yeah, I wanted to shoot Trump, got a year and a day. Doesn't make a lot of sense talking about weird sentencing. Let's see. July of 2024, a day before the Butler assassination attempt, authorities arrested a Pakistani national accused of orchestrating a murder for hire plot targeting Trump and other U.S. officials on behalf of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. He was convicted in federal court in March of this year. November of 2024, a second attempt, another Iranian murder for hire plot targeting Trump. This suspect was accused of being an Iranian government asset who had been tasked with planning the assassination of Trump. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said in March of this year that he had been killed in a U.S. military operation. It's probably better than American justice, if you ask me. All right, so where do we go? In July of 2024 was Butler. September of 2024 was the guy in the bushes, Ryan Wesley Roth, in the bushes near a Trump, Florida golf course. And then April of 2026, you have the White House Correspondent Center. Those were the 3 assassination attempts. Now, if you go to his second presidency, so I didn't hear about most of these. Did you hear about these? Am I missing something? Like, am I just woefully informed? Because I hadn't heard about like the guy with the forklift to try to overturn the beast. Which, by the way, I don't know if a forklift can overturn the beast. Maybe it can, but they don't move super fast. So I don't know how. I mean, are you idling on the side of the road waiting for them to come by and you hope Secret Service doesn't notice you? Like, that just seems like a really, really not well thought out plan. That's all I'm going to say. It doesn't seem well thought out. Second presidency, May 2025, a Florida man arraigned in federal court after allegedly writing a letter to an official at the Charlotte Correctional Institution claiming that he had orchestrated the most daring presidential assassination that this country has ever seen and that Donald J. Trump must perish. And he got 27 months in federal prison. July of 25, a Texas guy was arrested, allegedly threatened Trump on social media ahead of the president's visit to Texas. And he got 2 years in prison, more than the guy, by the way, who admitted he wanted to kill Trump and try to get the officer's gun. It doesn't seem right. August, Georgia guy allegedly posted a comment on a TikTok live stream threatening to shoot Trump. 29-year-old wrote, "So there's only one way to make America great, and that is putting a bullet in between Trump's eyes." He was later sentenced to more than 3 years in federal prison. Again, more than the guy who tried to get the officer's gun. February of this year, an armed man drove into the secure perimeter of Mar-a-Lago as another vehicle was exiting. He was fatally shot by authorities. April of this year, officials unsealed a federal criminal complaint against a Kentucky guy accused of posting a series of politically violent threats on Instagram. 23 years old, he allegedly threatened to cut Trump with a razor and feed his skin to stray dogs. There's a lot of mental health issues in this country that I think we might want to try to get a grip on. We might want to address that. He also threatened to kill law enforcement, etc. Now, apparently he has not come to trial because there's no resolution to this. June of this year, an alleged terrorism conspiracy targeting Trump's UFC event at the White House just 4 days we know that 4 days before the event, we know about that. Those guys obviously have not been charged. And August of 2026, we're only 6 days into August and there's one in August. It's like the 1 a month club here. They arrested a suspect who was allegedly photographing and recording security preparations ahead of a scheduled fundraising dinner at Trump's golf club in California. And that was just like the force. That was like 2 or 3 days ago. We talked about that. So he was found carrying a 16-round magazine loaded with ammunition, and investigators recovered an additional pistol and fake security protection agent badge from his truck. And I just would like it noted, it's all men. That's all I'm going to say. Not that I think women need to get in on this game, but women are the usual suspects when it comes to the crazy emotional ICE stuff and the screaming and yelling and that kind of stuff. Guys, I think, are a little bit more with this, right? I think there's definitely a divide there when it comes to that. But I didn't know about some of them, so I had to share it with you because I thought it was so crazy because it's almost one a month. The most threatened president in history, Donald Trump. And I blame a lot of this on the left with their violent rhetoric that they have no problem with. But if someone on the right says something mean, they're crying in front of cameras. It's a double standard that the Republicans allowed to exist, and I don't understand why, but they do. And they're to blame for a lot of this because they just don't do anything. They just sit and wring their hands and go, "Oh dear, what are we going to do?" And you heard me. I played the piece from Senator John Kennedy about Senate recess. He said, "All we do is go to meetings to talk about stuff we have to do, but we never vote on anything. We never do it. We just talk about it." He said, "I'd rather have a back alley colonoscopy than go to another meeting about the work we need to get done." He goes, "Let's vote. It's time to vote." He's talking about the Save America Act. They just want to sit around and just talk and collect their checks. And one of the callers who could get on, somebody called in and left a message and said that Congress should be paid hourly. This way, if you don't show up, you don't get paid. And because they have so much time off, it's ridiculous. It's a half time. They work half the year, if that. And pay them hourly. I love that idea. They would get their butts in DC more. I think that's a fabulous idea. I don't think it'll happen because they have to vote to impose that on themselves. So I don't think we see that happen. But I like it. And I also like, if it's too expensive to live in DC, let's provide them with housing. Studio apartments or 1-bedroom apartments, in almost like a dorm setting. And it'll have great security. They can each have their little kitchen. It's not hard to find those things. It's not hard to build those things. Trump's a builder. Let's do it. And let's find some property and put them in it, even if it's like outside, if it's in Virginia or Maryland or whatever. And we'll even have buses for them so that they're not late. They come in on time when they need to, or they can call an Uber or something. But they have to get their butts to work. Anyway, I've got more coming up. You're listening to The Rob Carson Show.
FM in Harper County.
Have a rejoin.
We have to beat them electorally, and then we have to break their spirit. And then we're going to crush their soul.
Oh, really? You and what army?
They're so nice, aren't they? But if you say something mean, they are crying a river. I want to go to something we talked about yesterday, which was the break apart of the Democrat Party and how we see the communist wing breaking off, and whether that's going to happen. Like, it's a schism, but is it going to be a full-on break? And we had really good conversations about that yesterday. A lot of you called in to talk about it, and we did talk about James Carville. We had audio from James Carville and John Fetterman as well, saying that if this, they keep this up, Carville said, I'm not going to be the same party as Hassan Piker. And Fetterman said, if they make anti-Semitism a part of their platform, I'm out. And we were asking, where are these people going to go? So Bernie Sanders was asked about James Carville's comment. He was asked by CNN's Abby Phillip, and was asked about James Carville's comment that he is not going to be in the same party as Hassan Piker. He said, absolutely not. That's not going to happen. Listen to Bernie Sanders' response.
So when someone like James Carville says he doesn't want to be in the same political party as Hassan Piker, which one are you going to take?
Well, that's not much of a choice. If Mr. Carville doesn't want to be in my party, the party that I belong to, that Piker, that El Sayed belongs to, he can start his own party. Look, what we are doing now is, you could turn the tables around and say, do you really want to be in a party where your leadership is taking huge amounts of money from AIPAC, which is supporting an extremist Netanyahu government that many of us believe have committed genocide? Do you want to be in a party with people who do that? Do you want to be in a party which has not stood up?
Yeah. You want to be in a party that does that? Oh, that's terrible. But they really shouldn't talk, because they're all posers. These people who are pushing this socialism / flow into communism are all wealthy. Bernie Sanders has 3 homes. Bernie Sanders has never, ever worked in the private sector. He's always lived off the taxpayer dollar. And yet he's got 3 homes. How did that happen? Now, I know he made a lot of money apparently from a book, but I didn't see him giving that money away. You can't live in 3 houses at the same time. You can only put your butt in one chair at a time, right? So what about all those extra houses? If he's in one, is he letting homeless people live in the other 2? Or poor people live in the other 2? Is he sharing his wealth? But no, of course he's not. He only wants to share yours. Hassan Piker, when after Mike Rogers has a second home in Florida, and he's going to be running against not Hassan Piker, excuse me, potato, right? El Sayed. He's going to be running against him, and he went after him, and he launched the first attack and said something about his second home. He's got 2 homes. And this ain't Florida, because he has a second home in Florida. But El Sayed owns apartments in Dubai and somewhere else overseas. So they're all a bunch of hypocrites. They have theirs. Mom, Donnie, is a Nepo baby. Mommy and Daddy are very, very wealthy, and they have a pied-à-terre. But in, I think, Uganda, when he got married, it was a 4-day affair, and they had private security and floodlights, and it was on their compound. They have a compound. They have walls and private security, stuff he doesn't want you to have, stuff that they defund the police crowd don't want you to have. They don't even want you protected by the police. But they got theirs. He was living in a rent-controlled building. What has he ever done? What has he ever done that qualifies him for balancing a budget? Has he ever had a job? The mayor of Seattle, same thing. She comes from a very wealthy family as well. So a lot of these so-called socialists / communists are very wealthy. And like I said, they got theirs. And they don't seem to be living by the same rules they want you to live under. They're ready to want to take your money and give it to people that they think are deserving. but they are not going to live by those rules themselves. A story coming out of, I think this is Florida. There was an investigation launched because a woman reported a winning pick 4 lottery ticket. She mailed it through the U.S. Postal Service, and it shockingly never made its way to its intended destination. It was determined that the ticket was redeemed, though, at a Florida lottery Miami district office by a woman named Lakeisha Lockhart. She was arrested and charged with grand theft. It seems she worked for the U.S. Postal System. She was charged with grand theft, dealing in stolen property, filing a false claim by payment, and 2 counts of unlawful use of a two-way communication device, and mail theft. She admitted to the crime. They didn't say how much the winning lottery ticket was worth. I read somewhere it was over $2,000. So this woman was mailing this ticket, and I guess you can take it to the lottery place. You have to take it to a lottery district office, and so she mailed it through the mail. Would you ever mail anything of value through the mail? Like I mailed stuff one year for Christmas. I mailed gift cards, and I mailed 3 different gift cards 3 different times, but I put them in a card inside a envelope that was padded with bubble wrap, so you didn't know what it was. There was no way you could tell what was in that package. None of the 3 ever made it to its destination. One was Montana, one was Long Island, and one was North Carolina. Not one of them made it to its intended destination. And you know what my postmaster told me? He said, "Why would you mail anything of value through the postal system?" He goes, "Why would you mail anything?" And I'm like, "What about my ballot? I thought that's safe. Mailing my ballot." He goes, "I don't mail anything of value through the postal system." And this was my postmaster in my post office. So why would you do that? They're lucky they found it. All right, coming up, Justine Brooke Murray joins us on the Rob Carson Show.
The Rob Carson Show is presented by Paramount Plus.
This isn't the end of a fight. It's the start of one. Lioness, the critically acclaimed original series from Taylor Sheridan, returns August 2nd only on Paramount Plus. It's the new season. Hidden networks, foreign operatives, and personal betrayals collide while Joe walks the line between duty and family. Don't miss Lioness, starring Zoe Saldana, Michael Kelly, with Morgan Freeman and Nicole Kidman. Now streaming on Paramount Plus. Hey guys, it's Carson. You know, when it comes to supplements, 2 things matter most. A, that it works, and B, that you can trust it. We hear from people every single day whose lives have changed, including mine, and we'd like you to hear a few of their stories. Chris has spent years of doing physical work, leaving his feet sore at the end of the day. After starting Relief Factor, he felt so good, he did something he'd never done before. He ran a half marathon. Now he tells all his friends about Relief Factor. I can still move furniture, I can still ride my mountain bike, I can still lift heavy weights, and Relief Factor makes all of those tasks pain-free for me. 3 weeks for just $17.76. Simply go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. We hope you'll soon be sharing your story with us too. Again, ReliefFactor.com or 800-4RELIEF.
unforgivable. Those Fauci lies. Unforgivable. Your alibi. My alibis. Took the fifth, 'cause I didn't want to be hauled away and charged with perjury. Never before have actions been more unforgivable in every way. In every way. No one believes a word I say. A word you say. The cover-up was so predictable. My explanation's contradictable. It makes Fauci quite convictable too.
Welcome back to the Rob Carson Show. How are you? I am Mary Walters, sitting in for Rob Carson. I'm with you again tomorrow. And tonight, 6 o'clock, I will be on Newsmax 2 on the Ed Henry Show. And that is on YouTube as well. So if you are one of those people who's watching on YouTube right now, you can go to YouTube and you can just type in Newsmax 2 live, the number 2 live, and it'll come up. And you can join me 6 o'clock. So probably like 6:05 on the Ed Henry Show. Right now, joining us on the Newsmax Hotline is Justine Brooke Murray. She's a media personality. You can follow her on X at Justine_Brooke with an E on the end of it. You need the E on the end there. Justine, welcome to the Rob Carson Show. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I just wanted to get to some of these news stories because there's just so much going on news-wise. And, it's hard to get to all of it. So I thought this is a perfect opportunity to get to all of these news stories. One of them is, I don't know if you've heard about this, but Marjorie Taylor Greene put out a picture. She shared a picture on X that was taken at Tucker Carlson's cabin in Maine. And it shows her and Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massie and Joe Kent, who's the former head of the U.S. National Counterterrorism Center. Now, these are people that have all fallen out with Donald Trump. So these are, they're on the island of misfit toys now. And the one thing they have in common is we hate Donald Trump. And she put a caption on the photo that says, "We said no more foreign wars and we meant it, and supported Donald Trump because he made that promise. But he's betrayed us all. Our commitment is America first for all Americans, right, left, and center. The movement has begun." Now, Kent on Tuesday evening was on with the Young Turks and said that their group has been trying to get Tucker Carlson to run in 2028. What do you make of this?
It's almost as these guys were all Islamo-communists or part of the Red-Green Alliance all along. Joe Kent, he was a Bernie Sanders voter. He voted for him in the 2020 Oregon Democratic primary. A lot of them, in fact, I think almost all of them were previously at some point Democrats, and Democrats quite recently. So it just goes to show, if you take the names away, if you take the Marjorie Taylor Greene name away, Tucker's name away, and then you take the names away from everyone on the squad, and you mix up everything that they say. It's almost as if it's coming out of the same person's mouth. It's coming from the same side. And I like to call it the uniparty of evil, because they are willing to throw the West, throw America under the bus to Islamists. They always talk about, well, we just don't want foreign wars. Well, it never really stops there. It doesn't stop, especially when they go on the Young Turks, which is very much so pro-Islamist. You've got Hassan Piker saying America deserves 9/11, dressing up as Mao. So, of course, when they're aligning with those guys, it's pretty evident.
Yeah, it's just so interesting how people who fall out of favor with Donald Trump, they get so hurt about it, right? Like who was the woman who during the first administration? Oh gosh, and she was on the black woman, very pretty. She was on The Apprentice, and she wound up being in his orbit and then betrayed him. And her name starts with an O. I forget what her name is. Anyway, she's another one. But you hear these people, and they're damaged afterwards. I don't know if he does this to them, or there's something about it. It's almost like a weird form of TDS.
I think for the most part, in order to have that level of TDS, there has to be something wrong with these people to begin with. I've heard stories about how Tucker Carlson was always a bit of a joke, and of course, where he worked, it was, it wouldn't always show up on air. But of course, when they go off independently, they say all these different things that maybe they didn't say in their previous broadcasts. Sometimes it's because their career is dwindling. I would say that this is happening to, of course, this happens to Candace Owens. Their career is kind of going down the drain, so they feel the need to grift to the other side, or completely just go off the wall with these insane conspiracies to the point where they're stooping as low as to blame Erica Kirk for the assassination of Charlie, and to basically sound like they're the leftists cheering on Charlie's assassination. That's how far they will go for attention. I think all of these people are entertainers and actors. They certainly act like it. And it kind of reminds me of when a child celebrity goes off the rails. There was something, maybe they weren't raised right. Maybe they didn't get enough love. Or maybe they received too much love from their parents. Just like these leftists, these sheltered leftists, they're just attention deprived.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and I came to Omarosa. I knew it started with an O. Remember her? She was another one who went off. But you talk about they want attention, but it's interesting because they had all of those are big names, right? That we all know, Candace Owens, etc. That you refer to. They had attention when they were on the MAGA side, and they were stars in the movement. And it seems as if there's just one thing that puts them over the edge, and they just totally flip. And to me, it's a very, very interesting. The Donald Trump effect on mental health, I think, needs to be studied for many, many years, because there are so many people who just lose it, and it's so personal to them when it comes to Donald Trump. It's very weird. But I don't think we see Tucker Carlson as a presidential candidate in 2028. Do you?
I see him as much as a candidate as Don Lemon thinks he's a candidate. They both think they're Don Quixote. They can dream about the impossible feat, and they can make themselves martyrs for the rest of their lives. But it just seems to be a cope for them.
Speaking of Don Lemon, and I don't know if you know this, and I'm putting you on the spot, and it's okay if you don't know it. What's going on with this case against him? Like, isn't he supposed to be in front of a judge at somewhere along the line? Doesn't he have a trial coming up for what he did in that church with those other protesters?
He's supposed to. I do remember when he was arraigned, Newsbusters, the Media Research Center, we covered that, particularly the fact that he went and turned around and tried to make himself some kind of victim of censorship, because he joined that mob that stormed the church in Minneapolis. Yeah. And they interrupted people as they were praying. And the mob that he joined, they were so, I don't even want to call them radical anymore, because I do believe it's the mainstream position of the left. But they acted like Maoists, where they shouted in these kids' faces. They shouted in the faces of these children who were there with their parents praying on a Sunday. And Don Lemon, he preached this. He thought that his First Amendment right was being violated because he couldn't go and violate the First Amendment religious right of these people praying. And he still believes that. So right now it seems to be almost in limbo. Like we haven't really heard much about what's going on there, but it's really just coming from his mouth. Well, he'll go on these broadcasts and just complain over and over again about the same thing. Oh, the Trump administration is targeting me.
Right, exactly. He said because he has to be a victim. Victimhood is the highest level you can attain on the left, and he needs to be a victim. Coming up, I want to talk to you about government-run grocery stores because I have a story for you out of Chicago about some government-run grocery stores in Chicago and maybe what that portends for New York's government-run grocery stores. That's coming up. We're with Justine Brooke Murray on The Rob Carson Show.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.